All right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. Not going to lie, this is going to be kind of a messy one. Mainly because you might be seeing Steam page instead of footage. The thing is, Petty has access to footage for, I think, all of the games this week, but he can't play them because of his eye problem. And more to the point, he can barely look at the monitor without being in tremendous pain. So hopefully it's going to be a thing that's minimized this week, but it's kind of hard to say. Anyway, with that in mind, 4 reviews up this week. The first of which is Letters of War. Letters of War is an adventure war drama inspired by real events and a spiritual successor to the legendary Valiant Hearts, The Great War. Help a simple British carpenter not lose touch with his little daughter during World War II. Connect their destinies with the help of letters. Now, I suppose, okay, first of all, I will be upfront. I have never played Valiant Hearts. If you don't know what that is, if I'm remembering correctly, Ubisoft's Ubi art game about World War One. It is in the title, or at least of one of these, like Valiant Hearts: The Great War. If we're talking about the Great War, we're talking about World War One. And indeed, that's actually fairly relevant to Letters of War here, because our protagonist, Liam, he's actually a veteran of World War One. Presumably, he was very young in World War One because he's also young enough to serve in the regular army of World War Two. He's not an officer. Or anything like that, like some other figures from World War One, and I'm not just talking about the Austrian man with the mustache. For example, American General George S. Patton was a. I don't remember if he was an enlisted man, but he was. He was like on the field as a soldier of much lower rank in World War One, and worked his way up to general by World War II. We're not rising that high. This is more Band of Brothers, focusing in on what the rank and file, the enlisted, the infantrymen
Yeah, he'd
are
probably
doing
not
during
playing
various stages of World War II. Like, if I'd have to place, early 30s,
yeah.
since he's got, I guess for lack of better terminology, a dad bod.
Mm.
Not not with the gut, but he looks like someone who works out, but is also heading towards middle age. You might be able to see it in the pictures here.
Mm.
Um,
And I'm guessing he's probably like a corporal or something like that. He's not quite like commissioned to officer, but he's probably a little higher rank than your general private.
um, Something like that. Let me see if let's see if they give the rank here. Because I don't remember, but yeah, like, it's also worth noting that this is being told from the British perspective,
Yeah.
um, which does make one of the early sequences in a game kind of
I was just about to ask what
eye-rolling.
year in the British perspective. That is very important.
It starts with the Blitz.
Yep.
I'm like, so, like, it leads to the introduction. like okay, if I'm remembering correctly, it's after the bombs drop, and Liam and his wife are arguing whether or not he should go to the front lines, and the importance of him being alive for his daughter,
Mm-hmm.
Rosie, who's kind of the co-protagonist of this game. Um, but the thing is, like, you're in an active war zone already. The bomb, like, it's an actual gameplay sequence in
Mm-hmm.
this title. And a horrible one at that. More on that later. But it's like the bombs have literally dropped.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're not in a safe place, lady.
It's literally, depending where they were at, a toss up whether or not they should have been alive or dead.
Yeah, truth be told, like the next scene should have been like a bomb shelter or something.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of poor. It was kind of poorly done
Mm.
because I'm like safety. Like I just went through a gameplay sequence where I was dodging air bombs, like bombs dropped from the sky. You're not safe. Britain was not safe. Like no, and it's not the main problem with this game. Like most of what I played had better handling of the subject material than that particular sequence. I just had to single that out because it was it was a bit of the theater of the absurd.
Mm.
That being said, yeah, this isn't like a narrative adventure game or a walking simulator or however you want to frame one of those. Now there are actual gameplay sequences here. I guess mini game sequences you would call them. They are by and large the weak points of this game because they're awful. There's no other way to say it. Like I think I would have enjoyed this game much more had they cut out once again the beginning sequence is like the actual gameplay sequence that isn't something resembling an adventure game is something resembling like an arcade game from 1982. That is to say, you are literally running home and you've got to dodge the bombs and you got to control your speed. And it's pretty shit. That's how I describe all the mini games that I played in this. I think I got to the end of Act 2, which in this game was the Italian campaign, which is actually one of the lesser visited areas of World War II history. Not not fully obscured like what was going on in what was going on in say Poland, or a good lot of places in say Eastern Europe, at least as far as the Western perspective goes. Like there's a certain hierarchy. You'll hear time and again about Normandy. Like hell, it's hard to get Western, especially American media, to stop talking about Normandy, D-Day,
Yeah, it was a really big, fancy operation, and also one we were at least kind of involved in, if I remember correctly.
Not only base we were involved in, but probably one of the bigger turning points.
Yeah, not just that, but it was the Americans who led that operation.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And to be clear, we were also involved in the Italian campaign. That's 1943.
Yeah, that's where my grandpa was. He hated Italian food forever.
I mean, valid.
Not valid.
I'm joking, but yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it gives that an association with things you'd rather not think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or gave.
Yeah. Anyway, point is, it's as you'd expect from a World War II game of really any designation. I don't really want to meet the World War II thing that's lighthearted because, it's not a lighthearted subject.
And it was probably created by monsters.
Yep.
Spoilers, those are the ones with the red armbands.
Yeah. That being said, you'll note that the art style is in a very twee and churlish style. Not quite Saturday morning, but think about the disconnect that, say, Watership Down has. Not that severe, like you don't get bloody corpses, but you're still going to get the horrors of war juxtaposed to very pleasant settings at times and a very pleasing art style, which is your basic juxtaposition thing. And I think that word base kind of sums the game up for me. Like, it's probably a good title for not necessarily children, but younger game players. Like somebody who's, say, 12 years old or 13 years old. This would probably be a good title for them because it's aesthetically accessible enough, but also serious enough, where it deals with heavy subject matter, not just here with the personal story about a guy sent to war and trying to keep in contact with his family, but it'll give you blurbs about various things that happened in World War II. Once again, from a British perspective, so you get the Battle of Britain, and British propaganda posters, that kind of thing. But you're not going to get the Battle of Stalingrad, for example, because while that was hugely important to World War II as a whole, the British weren't a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, it's a good, it seems to be a fairly decent educational tool. That's just kind of hard for someone like me to judge because, well, not only am I an adult, but I've been hearing World War II stuff for most of my life. That being said, we do need media like this now more than ever, because much has been said here or elsewhere about not just the current political situation, but the political situation of recent times. And as far as various causes and effects, one of the more under-discussed reasons for why we're seeing a rise in, let's say, outmoded right-wing ideologies is because, well, World War II is passing from living memory. It's not quite there yet, but World War II veterans are dying off. But to the point where we're getting the last of regiments and stuff dying out.
Well, not just that, but if you look at this on paper, it looks like something from a comic book villain. It doesn't seem real nowadays, just how unabashedly evil they were.
Yes. Once again, there's definitely a conversation to be had about the economy,
Mm-hmm.
but that's beyond the scope of this program,
Right.
just in general. But it does relate to this game because it's trying to educate people, presumably younger history students on the horrors of World War II. Um, like, I'm not sure how deep, are we going to be talking about the Holocaust?
Mm-hmm.
And how much of the Holocaust are we going to be talking about, for example? You know, there are a lot of horrors of World War II to be talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, um, along those lines, I think it can be an effective tool. Um, as a game though, it's unfortunately pretty rubbish. But I don't think that's the point. At least I hope it's not the point. Because yeah, the mini games are basic to perfunctory. Like, you do need a bit of skill to get through the running mini games. The basic ass rhythm game they have here, um, it's the definition of like obligation. It works, but it's not really attached to any timing, any rhythm. It's just there to be a gameplay sequence. And that gets to the heart of why I think these things should have been left on the cutting room floor. Because they're not fun. And once again, I get World War II, but there's a long tradition of making World War II games, specifically shooters, fun. But that's probably a different conversation than the one we're having about this title. But more to the point, they're distracting. Going back to the running game, honestly, I found it not just bad, but comical. Like, it looked ridiculous in the context of trying to have a serious narrative. Because all of a sudden, Liam is running at video game speed, trying to dodge the bombs of war in a very cartoony way. Like you would see from Looney Tunes or something. And just kind of undercuts the entire verisimilitude of the title here. So, yeah, kind of a mixed bag overall. That being said, the big emotional points do hit pretty well. Outside of like the non-gameplay sequences. So it's got that going for it. And also worth noting is the amount of money you'd be paying if you want to get this title. And that is, this game is clocking in at $7 USD. I'd say this is a $7 game. Yeah, probably could have gone to $10. But it's more it's more a question of, is this appropriate for your kid? And I'd say once again, like older kid, like a 6-year-old, this is probably a bit too emotionally above that age range. 8-year-old, maybe, definitely like like older to like 10, 12 years old, to early teenager, like a 14-year-old, then this might be a bit too much on the other side. Like it might be a little too childish for them. I don't know. Children's media is really hard to nail in these terms. Right. So with that in mind, anything else you two want to add to the conversation here?
No, not really.
I think I'm good.
All right. So yeah, it's a fine enough title as it's kind of a good intro to World War II kind of thing, and more to the like general horrors of war and less of what the Nazis did, or any of the other numerous war crimes that happened. So yeah, I think that's about all I got on Letters of War here. So be sure to tune in after the break as Petty Fan reviews Build a Bridge.